When thinking about the best cartoons of all time, especially kids' cartoons, you better bet a good amount of them are probably from Disney, because Disney has made some phenomenal animated series ranging from like the 90s with the Disney Afternoon era with shows like DuckTales, Chip and Dale, Darkwing Duck, and Gargoyles, to the 2000s with shows like Kim Possible, The Proud Family, Phineas and Ferb, to even modern day hits like Amphibia, Owl House, DuckTales again. But if I could think of one Disney cartoon from the last 10 years that has left such a huge impact and is considered by many people as one of the best things Disney has ever produced, it has got to be a little cartoon from 2012 called Gravity Falls. You heard that right, folks. Gravity Falls is officially 10 years old today, and that is crazy to believe. Like, I remember when Gravity Falls first came out, I was like 8 or 9, honestly. Like, I was a kid, and now look at me, 10 years later, I'm a high school graduate, I'm planning for the future, I'm depressed. It's bonkers. I absolutely love Gravity Falls. I loved it when I first saw it. Like, I was hooked from that first episode, and it was like my favorite show when I was a kid. And it's like, oh man, I am so excited to be talking about it now for this monumental occasion. It's 10-year anniversary. Like, man, I'm really excited. I even drew that little Bill Cipher there, you know, right, just for this video. And I mean, it doesn't really look good. Like, its legs look all weird and stuff. But you know, I drew it. It's a really terrible drawing. Regardless of how bad my drawing skills are, I am still ready to talk about this because this show is amazing. I love everything about it, from its characters, its setting, its animation, its art style, its story. It's just like, oh man, I cannot wait. And so, thank you for joining me. I really hope you stay for this. I'm gonna be doing discussion about Gravity Falls. I'm going to be going over a bunch of stuff. I'm going to be going over the actual show and like what happens in it, the various like great episodes, and I'm also going to be talking about some other stuff that I find interesting, like basically like the fan discourse behind it, the behind the scenes of it, like the creation of it, the books that came out afterwards that were connected to the show, and like even some fun facts here and there. And I'm excited. There are some things that I didn't get my hands on. Like, I know there's this one book that I don't have that's a sort of like a choose your own adventure story, but from what I heard, it's not really canon except for maybe one thing. But for the most part, I think it's probably okay if I skip out on it. There was also a 3DS game that I was planning on getting just to talk about for in this video, but I read the reviews and I saw how much it costs like on eBay. Like, it could go up for like $60, and honestly, I'm kind of cheap. I don't want to like, spend, that cash on a game that's probably not the best. So I'll skip on that for now. So I'm mainly just gonna be covering the main important stuff, and I'm excited. Let's do this. Gravity Falls is an animated series that first premiered on Disney Channel back on June 15th, 2012, and it's about two twins, Dipper and Mabel, who have to spend their summer in a small town in Oregon called Gravity Falls, where a bunch of weird and paranormal stuff seems to happen like all the time. And they have to stay with their great uncle Stan, who runs a tourist attraction called the Mystery Shack. And during their time in Gravity Falls, they meet some characters, they go on weird adventures, and they might even discover a few mysteries about the town, and maybe even some characters. Who knows? I do, because I've seen the show, and basically, to sum it all up, interesting stuff happens. But before we get to that interesting stuff, though, we gotta talk about the show's roots. So heads up, throughout the video, I will spill in some facts here and there about like the creation of the show and like what went behind the scenes, facts about various episodes or fan discourse or theories, stuff that I thought would be interesting to have, fun facts. And all of the fun facts that I mentioned in this video are based on research that I did. I'm looking up stuff online about the show and its creation, watching interviews, watching other people's videos about these kind of topics, and listening to the commentaries on the DVD set. However, I will say, like, if I do get a fact wrong, please let me know in the comments, right? You could absolutely correct me if you want. Just don't be, like, a jerk about it, please. Like, I'm trying real hard, guys, I swear. Gravity Falls was created by Alex Hirsch, who used to work on shows like The Misadventures of Flapjack, Adventure Time, and Fish Hooks before creating Gravity Falls. And interesting thing that I learned about like Gravity Falls in the commentary was that apparently Alex Hirsch did not want to make a kids show in the beginning. He thought kids shows at the time did not fit the style of what he wanted to do. And so when Disney approached him to be like, hey, do you have an idea for like a show? He basically gave them something that he thought they wouldn't pick up at all, like about like these twins who hang out in this small town during the summer and then have to spend time with their really shady uncle. And he thought like there's no way they're gonna say yes, but they did apparently, and thank God they did, because we wouldn't have this great show if Disney wasn't all like, yeah, we need that shady uncle. So the idea for Gravity Falls came from like Alex Hirsch's like memories of like summer vacation when he was a kid, and like the times he spent with his own twin sister Ariel, and like the relationship that he had with his twin sister Ariel was like the main inspiration for Dipper and Mabel in Gravity Falls. And in like the paranormal stuff did not actually happen to him. No, that was fake. I'm like 78% sure like he didn't actually fight gnomes in a weird triangle man. No, he decided to add the paranormal stuff in there because he was like really fascinated by that stuff, and he thought like he remembered like his summers being super boring, so he wanted to make this show like be like the summers that he wish he had. And yeah, so that was the basis for the show. That was the inspiration. But what about the actual process of getting the show greenlit, huh? When pitching an idea for an animated series to a studio, they don't just say, oh my gosh, we like that idea, we're gonna make like 89 seasons of it, it's gonna be great. No, what they need to see first is a pilot to see if the show could be good. What could it look like? And if they like it, they'll turn it into a full series. They'll greenlight it. And so Gravity Falls, like most anime shows, needed a pilot, and Alex Hirsch made one. Here are the pictures for it. As you can see, it looks pretty different from like what we would eventually get. This pilot was never officially released by Disney, but it did leak, and I watched it on YouTube, which is not entirely legal, if I'm being honest. I don't think it's entirely legal, but I wanted to watch it anyway because I wanted to like compare it to what the final product would be and see like the differences here and there. And I'll say like it is quite different from what we got, honestly. It focuses more on comedy and not really like the mystery aspect of the show, but the comedy is still pretty funny. It sort of has the same plot as like the first episode of the show, that being like Dipper and Mabel. Like Mabel has a new boyfriend and Dipper thinks it's a zombie, but then it turns out it's actually some gnomes. Whole thing. But there are a few differences here and there. Like some characters are missing, like Zeus and Wendy, who I don't think were created at this point. And like I said, it doesn't really focus on the mystery aspect. And another weird thing is Dipper did not find the journal in a mysterious part of the woods, and it wasn't written by a mysterious author. Instead, it was just like some wacky weird book that he had called Dr. Crackpot's Book of the Darned. It's not actually darned, it's legit the actual D word. But you know, I don't swear, I'm sorry guys. But it's like yeah, it was not called that, and I don't think they could have gotten away with that on Disney, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. And yeah, overall the pilot, you know, it's pretty solid. Like it's pretty funny. It does have some fun character dynamics in there and like funny scenarios. The style I don't completely love. It's not a bad art style at all. It's just not my thing. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Fish Hooks. It has a bit of a mixed media thing going on, and which I guess kind of makes sense because Alex Hirsch also worked on Flapjack before this, so I don't know, maybe there's some connection with that, maybe he was inspired by that. And also another thing is that it looks like it's animated in Flash. That's not a bad thing though. I'm not saying a show that's animated in Flash automatically means oh it's bad. No. I'm just saying it looks like here, which I'm wondering where that came from, because later on the actual show was not animated in Flash, I believe. So it's yeah, it's this pilot is a very bizarro version of what we would eventually get, and apparently it wasn't the only thing Gravity Falls related done with this style. No, there recently some new pictures showed up of other things that were made with this. I guess maybe another pilot or some teaser thing or something. Here, I'll put the pictures up so you can see what I mean. Like I said, these images were not in the pilot, so I don't know what they were for. Hopefully we find out someday though. So yeah, the Gravity Falls pilot, you know what? It was solid enough. It was pretty decent. It was not the greatest thing ever, but it did convince Disney to greenlight the show, and then once it was put into production, they were able to refine it and improve on it, and we got the masterpiece that is Gravity Falls, which now we could finally talk about the actual series. Whoa! Gravity Falls Season 1 was such a delight to watch, man. Rewatching this was just so amazing. The show is, really funny, and I love these characters. And, something interesting that I realized about this, first season is that it's not really plot-heavy. There isn't really, an ongoing story for a lot. It's, mostly just, hey, new adventure of the week, new weird occurrence of the week type of thing. And that could be because, apparently, a lot of people seem to believe that Gravity Falls, Alex Hirsch and his team, had everything planned from the beginning. They had a story they wanted to tell from beginning to end. It was all planned. That's not entirely true. They had some major things planned, which, oh, okay, I gotta say this. Spoilers, by the way, for like anyone who like is still watching this video but has not seen Gravity Falls at all. I'm gonna be spoiling stuff, so I'm gonna say go check out this show. Go to your Disney Plus account, watch it. Trust me, this show is so amazing. But if you want to keep watching, keep that in mind. There are gonna be spoilers. So here are the things that Alex Hirsch and his team knew. They knew what's gonna happen in the show. Like they had this planned out. They knew that Stan would have a twin brother, and he was trying to find him. And I think the other thing is that like the series finale would involve an apocalypse of some kind. That's about it. Yeah, those were the only things planned out. Like everything else is like I guess just made up as they went along. Like McGucket having like the secret pass connected to Ford. That wasn't planned. Bill being the big baddie at the end, that wasn't planned either. And like even like the use of the portal to find Ford, like that was not planned either. They just knew that Stan was trying to find him. They didn't know how yet. No, the portal, that was not planned. And that is so insane to me because like a lot of this show, a lot of these like things, like the storyline is like so many things are so well connected. It feels like it had to have been planned out like way prior, like they had to have like this super cool plan for like everything. But no, it really didn't. And that is just incredible, man. Like that shows some serious talent on this like team behind Gravity Falls, because this could have easily turned out a disaster if done poorly, but no, they did it so well, and it's just amazing. So yeah, I guess like the fact that a lot of stuff was not pre-planned at all, and they were still, I guess, trying to figure out the show, that explains why a lot of season 1 it's not really like story driven or has a lot of like heavy lore stuff. It's mostly just like, hey, here's like a funny adventure of the week, and here's like the weird occurrence of the week. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. I actually think it's great because like I love like a lot of these episodes, man. It's like it's like, hey, here's like the weird thing of the week, and I'm excited to see what it is. And it's like it's so fun. Like you go from stuff like oh hey, there's like a lake monster in the lake, and like, oh, here's a convenience store that is haunted by ghosts. Here's a boy band that's actually like genetically created clones, which I love that episode. Boys Crazy. They meet like several times. There's like a boy band that's artificially made by a company, and like the boys like several times is just like amazing. Like I don't know what it is about cartoons having great boy bands. You got Boys Who Cry from SpongeBob. You got Four Town from Turning Red. And you got several times from Gravity Falls. And like my sisters and I sing like the song from that episode so much. Like, whoa, girl, you got me acting so cray when you told me that you won't be my baby. We're not threatening, girl. That was cringe. I'm sorry, but like I just love singing that song. But yeah, there's some like just really fun episodes that I could just think of. Like there's just so many memorable plots that I said. Like I already mentioned 3 of them. There's the Lake Monster episode, Legend of the Gobblewonker. There's like the inconveniencing where they go into like a haunted convenience store. There's like, of course, the several times episode Boys Crazy. But I can also think of like Fight Fighters, where they like bring this video game character to life named Rumble McSkirmish. You got like the Time Traveler's Pig, where they meet like Blendin Blandin, a time traveler, which is like the one of 2 time travel episodes that we get in the show. And like there's just like so many like memorable episodes, man. It's like, and that's what makes it like really fun. It's like, especially like with like these characters, watching these characters go through these scenarios, because the characters in this show are just like fantastic. And hey, why don't we talk about them? Let's start off with the main characters first. Let's start with Dipper and Mabel. Dipper is the very much the nerdy twin, the one who cares a lot about the mysteries of the town and like really nerdy things and like the supernatural, and he's like always like nervous and sweaty, and like he overthinks things a lot, but like over time like he does like get some confidence in himself, and like we see him progress, and it's like that's really cool. And like he's voiced by Jason Ritter, who does a really good job performing him. And the other twin, Mabel, voiced by Kristen Shaw, is just a lot of fun. Like she's like definitely the happy-go-lucky twin who cares about a bunch of like cutesy stuff, like sweaters, stickers, like stuffed animals, like all that stuff. And she's like always has like a crush like on boys like all the time. It's like yeah, she's like really fun to watch, and she has like her interactions with other characters are just so much fun. And another character that we got is Zeus, who is an employee in the Mystery Shack. He's voiced by Alex Hirsch, the creator of like Gravity Falls, which prepare to hear that a lot because Alex Hirsch voices a lot of characters in this. But yeah, Zeus is like a very much a comic relief character. He'll say a weird thing here and there, and he's also kind of into nerdy things as well, but like he's also like really loyal to the Pines family, and he'll do really anything for them. And like in the next season, we really do see like stuff about like his past, and see like why he cares so much about the Pines family, and like, you know, why he's so loyal to them. And that's like really cool. And like, yeah, Zeus is like one of my favorites, and like, yeah, he even has some great interactions with other characters. And then we got the owner of the Mystery Shack, Grunkle Stan, like the Dipper and Mabel's great uncle, who they call Grunkle Stan, and he's basically super shady. He's like this con man who runs like this tourist attraction with a bunch of lame hacky things to see, and then he'll steal, he'll lie, he does do some crimes, and it's like, oh man, he's like so funny, man. It's like he delivers like some of my favorite lines in like the entire series, and he even himself is hiding something from them, but we don't know what it is. Well, yes, we do. If you've seen the show, then yeah, which I will get into later on when we talk about specific episodes. But like, it's like, yeah, the Grunkle Stan, he's just amazing. The other important characters I'm going to talk about are Wendy, another employee in the Mystery Shack, voiced by Linda Cardellini. She's like a teenager, who is like basically has like this attitude. It's like, I'm cool, whatever, and she does like all this cool stuff, and like basically Dipper is like straight up in love with her, and that's like the driving force for like a lot of episodes where we see like his attempts to try to like hang out with her more or try to confess or something like that. And I think Wendy's a pretty good character. In hindsight, I don't think they do as much with her that I think they probably should have. Like, sometimes she is kind of put, for like a lot of important episodes, she's kind of like pushed off to the side. Well, maybe not a lot, but like quite a few of them. Like, and it's like, it's a little bit of a shame because Wendy, it's like, she is a pretty cool character, honestly. And Linda Cardellini does a really good job voicing her. But hey, Wendy is still, like I said, pretty cool. And she does still have some like really great moments. And of course, we gotta talk about who is technically the main villain of this season, the one who appears as like an antagonistic force for a lot of episodes, is Lil Gideon, who we first see in episode the episode The Hand That Rocks the Mabel, I believe it's called. I remember like when I first saw that episode, I was actually going like on vacation to like Mexico to visit my grandma and like my abuelita, and while we were going there, we like stopped at my aunt's house to like for like to stay for something because it's like a really long drive. And then like we were all like, oh man, we gotta watch the new Gravity Falls, and then we were like, can we please use her TV, Dia? Can we? And then she like let us, and that's when we first saw that episode. We were like, we just really have to see it. But yeah, that's a memory. Anyway, so like going back to the topic, Lil Gideon, he is like he's like this like a little kid like psychic who like everyone in town seems to love except the Pines family. Grunkle Stan absolutely hates him because deep down he's actually like a real terrible person. And like fun fact, he's actually voiced by Thorup Van Ortman? Okay, it's Thorup Van Orman. I think I mispronounced his name. Sorry about that. He was the creator of Flapjack, and like which is the show that like Alex Hirsch worked on before creating Gravity Falls, and now here he is voicing Lil Gideon, and he does a fantastic job. I absolutely love his voice, man. And it's like, yeah, Lil Gideon is a pretty fun character. Yeah, he's like, it's like, oh man, it's like so funny. Like how like he like just seeing like this little, like when he's like, you see how tiny he is, and like his big hair, he looks all cute, and then like he gets like in these like fits of rage, and then he's like it's so funny to see. And like, yeah, he is like in love with Mabel, and Mabel is not into that at all. And he does like he basically it's revealed that in like the first episode we see him that he actually has another one of the journals. Oh dang, I just realized I forgot to talk about the journals. I probably should have made a better script. Anyway, so I guess this is a good time like just to talk about it. Oh yeah, so in the show, Dipper finds this journal called Journal Number 3, and it's written by this mysterious author who he doesn't know yet at the time, and it catalogs all the weird stuff in Gravity Falls, like all the strange creatures and phenomenons that, you get what I mean, that happens in the town and like are in the town, and he like uses that as like a thing to like look up like all the weird stuff that they encounter every now and then. And like it turns out Gideon has the second one, and he's trying to find the other journal, in which he thinks there's only 2. At this point he doesn't know that there's like actually 3, that like to try to do like this thing so that he can like something. I don't know. I don't think even he knows. He just knows that like there's like these pages in the book that like when they're all connected, they create something, and that's what he's trying to figure out. And basically, he just tries to take over like the Mystery Shack, try to like own the building so that way he could try to find it. And then yeah, that's the driving force for a few episodes. And yeah, he works as a really good antagonist for this first season, and I think he's just like a really great character. He's just a lot of fun. The show also has a really good like cast of reoccurring and background characters. They're just like so much fun fun. Like you got Pacifica, the snobby like rich girl, part of the Northwest family, and it's like she's like a rival for like Mabel a lot of episodes, and like she can be pretty funny at times, and like specifically when she's like interacting with Mabel, and like even in season 2 she gets a really great episode that like kind of like adds a little bit more like nuance and like depth to her character. And like, which I'll get to that when we get to season 2, and it's like, yeah, she's like pretty good. There's Old Man McGucket, this like crazy hillbilly who lives in like the town and like says all this weird stuff, does gross things, and like even he also gets an episode in season 2 that adds more depth to his character, and he's voiced by Alex Hirsch. Okay, and then you got like Deputy Derlin and Sheriff Blubs. They're like the two like police officers of the town, and like they're like wacky, and they're so funny, and they are super gay for each other. They are in love, and that's like not me joking, that is legitimately true, and I love that. And if you don't believe me, it's true, okay? It's been confirmed by people working on the show. It's Gravity Falls is on the Pride Month section of Disney Plus. It's true, okay? They are gay, and I 100% support that. And yeah, just like they're great, and like this show just has so many great characters, main and like reoccurring and like side. It's just so great, and like the comedy in this show is so funny. It has got to be one of the funniest like cartoons I have ever seen, because like rewatching this, I laughed my butt off so many times, so many like memorable lines and quotes, and like those are the same thing, memorable lines and like moments. Like I could just think of so many funny moments, honestly, and like I love this, and like mix this with like you know, with this like comedy coming from this huge cast of like characters in this town, and like mix that with like the mystery aspect of the show and like all the weird stuff that they encounter. It's like a mix of like The Simpsons and like Twin Peaks, which like I say that comparison, but I've barely seen Twin Peaks. I've only seen like a little bit of the first episode before I left Hulu. So I don't know why I'm making that comparison. I barely know anything about Twin Peaks. Oh, Candy and Grenda. I can't believe I forgot about Candy and Grenda. Oh man, I love them too. Like, this is the thing about this. Even after I talked about something, I was going like, oh, and this thing. It's like, I really want to do that. Like, Candy and Grenda, they're great. They're like Mabel's friends. They first appear in Double Dipper, yeah, and it's like, they're so fun. Those three work great off of each other. They're just so much fun to watch, and I love them. And Grenda is just absolutely great. I mentioned this in my robots video, but something about like female characters voiced by men is just like honestly like amazing. Like I love like female characters voiced by men. They happen to be like some of the funniest characters ever. You got like Linda and Tina from Bob's Burgers. You got Grenda in Gravity Falls. You got Madam Gasket from Robots. Like Dr. Girlfriend from like Venture Bros. Like female characters voiced by men gotta be one of my favorite genders. I know earlier I said that like this episode doesn't really have like a lot of story stuff in it. That doesn't mean that it doesn't have continuity. There is very much continuity. You can see like things from one episode move on to another. They reference stuff from previous episodes, and you can even see like things like that are like foreshadowed like later on that like are really cool. Like for example, like it's especially cool on rewatch, honestly, because like when you watching this first time, you go like, wow, that's really cool, and then you on rewatch you notice these like little things that they added in that are going like, oh my god, that is so amazing. Like for example, in the Time Traveler's Pig, we meet Blandon, a time traveler, and he like, and then like at the end of the episodes reveal that like the anomalies that he was looking for were caused by Dipper and Mabel traveling through time, and then they go to like older like the earlier episodes of the show, and then like then Blandon has to go back in time and pick up whatever they dropped, and then like if you rewatch those episodes, you can see that Blandon is actually there, and that is what that is so cool, man. And like another thing is like even some story stuff that like is like when you see it develop later on in the show, like for example, we learned that like Stan has a twin brother, Ford, and in it it's like a really dramatic moment, you know. I say like, oh my god, he has a twin brother. And like, okay, so one episode called The Headhunters, Mabel builds like a wax statue of Stan that looks exactly like him, and Stan is like he is completely in awe. He absolutely loves it, but then when his head is chopped off, he's like really sad about it. And when you first watch it, it's like, oh my god, this is so funny. Like he really cares about this wax statue of himself. Like he's like really narcissistic. But then when you rewatch it, knowing the context of like the twin brother stuff, it's like, oh my god, he's like, maybe it's like supposed to be like something where like you know, it's supposed to be something like representative of like how he misses his brother, like his twin brother, by having him miss something that looks exactly like him. It's like, I don't know, maybe it's like something like connected to that. It's like so cool. You could say I'm overthinking it, maybe, but like honestly, it's like, I don't know. I feel like some of it's like there's gotta be some nuance in there, and like I really like that, and it makes this show so great to rewatch. Not just for like the comedy and like the characters, but also like moments like that. It's just amazing. So as you can see, now I'm showing off pictures of like backgrounds from the show and like the character designs, because now I really want to talk about the animation and like art direction of the show, which is just fantastic. The animation of the show is so good. Like, a lot of the movements are fluid, and like there are so many like great sequences. They're just done so well, and like the everything, like the visual style of the show is just really fantastic. Like, the character designs are like just so nice and like appealing, and like I know some people will probably hate it because of like the Cal art style or whatever, which is a dumb thing because a lot of shows are that have that like similar like bean head style. You know the one I'm talking about, the one that was like really popular during like the 2010s, and I guess even a little bit nowadays. It's like yeah, some people like for some reason hate this style because it looks really, because they look similar, but like I don't know, I think a lot of these shows have enough visual differences to stand out. And it's like, sure, maybe character design is like a little bit samey, but like there have been a lot of decades that have had like similarly looking like, you know, character designs. Like a lot of the 80s shows a lot of 80s shows kind of blend together for me, honestly. And it's like, I mean, yeah, like it's like that's a whole conversation for another place. Like, look, yeah, I mean, it's like sometimes I feel like they could have used different character designs, but like again, whole different conversation. The point is like I personally really love like this style, and it's like, oh man, the way it's done here is just really great. I heard somewhere that apparently one of the inspirations for like the character designs were like Muppets, like Jim Henson, like Muppet characters, and it's like how appealing they look, and like, I think you can definitely gotta see that in this. And it's like, honestly, like I love all of these character designs are like super memorable and great. And I also really want to talk about the backgrounds of the show. The backgrounds in the show are so good. Like they can look really pretty and detailed. It just looks so nice. Another thing that I want to talk about is the music by branFlakes, I believe. He does a really good job in the score for Gravity Falls. Of course, there's the intro, which I forgot to talk about the intro. The intro is so cool. It perfectly sets up what kind of show this is. It's like, hey, this is kind of like a weird show with like, hey, these like funny, goofy characters walking around, but like, hey, there's also this weird stuff happening, and it's like, it's just super well done. The music there is just great. It's super memorable. And like, yeah, the score of the show is just so good. Like, branFlakes does a good job, like with any like thing, you know, right? Like, I love like the little like montage music that you hear, that you know, that music is just like so good. And it's like, oh man, I just like, yeah, I just love the score. And yeah, so good job, branFlakes. You did good. So there are two story heavy episodes that are worth mentioning there, that being the two final episodes of the season, Dreamscapers and Gideon Rises. Let's talk about them. First off, Dreamscapers, we meet the introduction of one of the most important characters of the show, Bill Cipher, voiced by Alex Hirsch. Bill Cipher is that guy, but like drawn better. He's like this triangle creature who's like this powerful like being that has like the ability to do like anything as it seems, and he's definitely like a goofy character. In the beginning, it's like he becomes the big baddie in season 2, but like in the beginning, the creators weren't actually sure what to do with him. Like they weren't sure if he was just gonna be like a jokester character that would be like kind of goof around with like the characters, or if he'd be like a legitimate threat or something. And like I think that was like actually really interesting to hear, especially knowing how important Bill becomes later on. It's like surprising to hear that they didn't actually know what to do with him. But like here, he's great. He has a lot of personality, and he does feel like a legitimate threat here because he feels like something we hadn't seen before. Like at least like before, like for the most part, like Dipper and Mabel have been able to like, you know, defeat whatever has come their way. But like Bill, it's like, yeah, they technically sort of beat him, but like they don't completely defeat him. He says he'll be back, and he kind of leaves like this ominous like field and everything. He works really great because he's both funny and even a little bit threatening. But in this episode, he basically like goes into Stan's mind because little Gideon decided to hire him so he could find like the way to get to the deed to the mystery shack, and it's hidden inside like Grunkle Stan's brain. And so like Dipper, Mabel, and Zeus have to go in and stop him. And there's a lot of great visuals here. We get some like really great moments between like Dipper and like Stan. Dipper thinks that Stan doesn't like him, but then later on in the mind we see like, hey, why Stan is so harsh on him, and it's like, I don't know, really nice. Like I really like those nice character moments from the show, and it's like really good. And it's like, yeah, the animation is really great here. We get an imagination battle, which is like just fantastic, and overall it's just like a really great like penultimate episode of this season where we get like this introduction to a new threat who could be a bigger deal later on. By the time we weren't sure, but hey, he's like Bill Cipher. We got introduced to him. He's a great character. And then like the episode ended with little Gideon winning. He just decides to use dynamite and like in the house and takes the deed, and then boom, cliffhanger, and we like, what? Then you gotta watch the next episode to find out what happens next. And now let's get to that one. Gideon Rises, the season finale. Gideon Rises is such a fantastic season finale. It really like ups like the emotional stakes of the show, and it's like so interesting to watch. You get like all these really great moments where like Gideon has won and has taken over the Mystery Shack, and like they try to stop him, but everyone else just loves Gideon, but they don't know how really bad he is, and like Gideon is still looking for the journals, and he is able to take journal 3 away from like Dipper, and now he has 2 and 3, but then he realized, what? There's another one? There's a number 1, and it's like, what's going on with that? We'll get to that. But then later it's like there's like the emotional stuff is like really good in this. Like we see like Stan isn't able to afford to like still have like Dipper and Mabel around, so he has to like send them back home, and it's like really sad, and you go like, oh my god, you're really doing this, bro? And then like you get these moments where it's like it really feels like the characters have lost, and then you get this like really awesome moment where like Gideon just makes Gugget built Gideon like a giant robot to try to like get the journal 1 from them, because he thinks they have journal 1. You get this like really great like fight, and it's just like so well done, and it's like, man, they like the stakes again feel really high for this show, and it's like it works so well in this as a season finale. And then later they're able to stop him by showing off that like, hey, Gideon is not actually a psychic, he's a fake, and everyone in town hates him, and they love Grunkle Stan and like the Pine Twins for now. And then everything seems back to normal, dandy landy, whatever the phrase is. I don't know. The point is everything looks good, but then the cliffhanger that this show leaves on for the next season is so amazing. We basically, okay, so it's been like kind of hinted at here and there before that like Grunkle Stan is actually hiding something, but we don't know what yet. He goes behind the vending machine 2 times in the show, and it's like, what is going on there? We don't know. And then in this one, we see that like he earlier he like took like journals 2 and 3 to see like right, and we were wondering, why does he need those? And then we see him go to behind the vending machine, and then we see like he's working on this big contraption, this machine, and that he has journal 1, and like I guess he's gonna do something with the little like with the little drawings on the book that like connect it all, and he's saying like, what is that? And you go like, what is that? Oh my god, what is this? And then boom, it goes like to be continued in like season 2. Get ready for more. And it's like, oh my god, it's so wild. Even saying it now, it just sounds so crazy. I remember when I first saw this, it was just like a mind-blowing thing. It's like, whoa, that's what is that? I gotta watch more. Oh my god, I am so excited to see where this continues. I'm sure the next season is gonna come very soon. So in between season 1 and season 2 of Gravity Falls, there was like a pretty long hiatus that lasted like, I think a little bit over a year, like a year and like maybe a couple of months, like maybe a year and a half, I think. Like, oh my god, it was just like, it felt so long, especially like, okay, as a kid, I wasn't really like, I didn't use the internet like a lot, so whenever I learned if like a show that I liked was getting renewed, or if it was getting more episodes, was if the TV told me, if it said, hey, new episodes coming to you, baby, and it's like, I'd be like, that's the way I knew. And like, but like there, for Gravity Falls, in between season 1 and season 2, there was like almost nothing, and like I was legit kind of scared, because like season 1 ended with like this like big reveal, and I was like so excited to see like where it was gonna go. But then like for a long time, it was just like nothing. It just felt like so agonizing, like, oh my god, why isn't there anything else? Why TV? Where is Gravity Falls? And then like all of a sudden, just one day, just on a random day, just a commercial saying, "Whoa, Gravity Falls is coming out," and they didn't make it like a big deal. They acted as if it was just like another like a normal like commercial that was just like, "Hey, new episodes coming soon," and like, you know, or something like that. And I was just like, oh, like that seeing that like made me like so happy, but at the same time I was just like, where have you been? And like, it's just like, oh my gosh. As a kid, this like wait felt so agonizing. I really wonder how this wait felt for like adults that were watching the show, because yeah, you know, Gravity Falls was a hit with all audiences. Even if I wasn't aware of it, like as a kid, I thought like, oh yeah, it's a really popular kids show. But like, no, it was also really popular with adults. And I mean, obviously now I know that, but back then it was like unaware to me. But that's like so cool. Kid shows that are popular with like both kids and adults is just like, just great, honestly. It's like, I love seeing more of that. And it's like, yeah, like that wait felt so agonizing. And but like Gravity Falls was officially coming back after waiting for so long. And like, here's the thing, Gravity Falls was a really big hit on Disney Channel. It was like one of their most popular shows at the time, and you would think they would continue that success by continuing airing Gravity Falls on Disney Channel. You see, you'd think that, but Disney is not really smart sometimes. So apparently around the time like season 2 of Gravity Falls was about to air, Disney decided that like they didn't really want the Disney Channel to have like a lot of animated shows. They didn't really want that to be like of the face of Disney Channel, even though a lot of their most successful shows ever on that channel were animated, like Kim Possible, Phineas and Ferb, and of course Gravity Falls. But no, they decided they mostly wanted Disney Channel to be like for like the live action sitcoms, like Dog with a Blog, you know, the ones that people love. And like they thought they'd move all their animation over to their sister channel, Disney XD, which is the extreme channel where all the cool shows are at, which I guess is technically true because like all the animated shows were the coolest shows on Disney Channel and they just moved them there. So yeah, I guess it is true. That was the coolest, but not a lot of people watched the shows there because not a lot of people had Disney XD. Like I did. I had the luxury of having both Disney Channel and Disney XD, so I was able to continue watching Gravity Falls. But my cousin, who also really loved Gravity Falls, was not able to, so I had to record the episodes, and whenever he came over for like a birthday or like not Thanksgiving, they barely came, we don't really do Thanksgiving a lot, but like Christmas or something like that, they'd be all like, hey, you know, right, can I watch Gravity Falls? And I'd be like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And like, so at least he got that, but I feel really bad for like some other people who had to find like other ways to watch because like they just didn't have Disney XD, which is like a really scummy thing because like I don't understand why like Disney wanted to go with this direction, honestly, but like whatever, it's in the past now, sort of. They still kind of do this a little bit. They're not treating their anime shows well. The point is, let's forget about that for now and talk about how good Gravity Falls Season 2 is. Gravity Falls Season 2 takes a bit of a different direction from the first season. Like, first of all, like the first season definitely felt like I said before, it felt like a lot of the episodes were like, oh, here's the weird occurrence of the week, here's like another fun adventure we're gonna have this week type of thing. But this season, like, oh man, they really do like put in more of like the story in here, and like there are like a ton of episodes that are like driven by like Dipper just trying to figure out like the mysteries of the town and the journals and like who the author is, and like a lot of the big story heavy episodes come from this season, and like most of them really do, honestly. And it's like I said, I loved the first season because like again, it got you to like really enjoy those characters through those like little like adventures that they had every week. And then but like here it's like now I truly am invested when they do this more story heavy stuff because I grew to love these characters, and I was like, yeah, I want to see them do all this. So I think that's like I think that's really neat. But like yeah, I think this season has like some like really interesting episodes, and like something that I noticed on this rewatch was that like this season is the final season of the show, if that isn't clear, but like at the time when I was a kid, I didn't know that at all. And so when like I remember I saw the commercial that promoted like the final episode of the show, they said the series finale of Gravity Falls, and I was like, what? It's ending? That this came out of nowhere. But on rewatch, I kind of noticed that, oh my god, I think the signs that the show is ending are kind of already here, because it's like there are a lot of episodes that kind of feel like it ends something that the show had set up previously. Like the second episode of the season, Into the Bunker, ends like the kind of relationship, like the romance stuff with like Dipper and like Wendy, with her going like, hey, I think you're sweet and all, you're great, but I am older than you, I'm 15, you're 12, but hey, you know, you'll find someone out there. And then like we got like the Gulf War episode where like it kind of ends like the rivalry between like Mabel and Pacifica. It's like you get a lot of episodes like that, and like that was really interesting to see on rewatch, because like I like, again, as a kid, I did not notice any of this stuff. I had no idea what the words character development and like finishing a story meant, you know? However, even though a lot of these episodes are more like story driven, that doesn't mean they forget the comedy and stuff. No, it's still there. This season definitely still remembers like the fun of Gravity Falls. Like, hey, they still want the audience to have fun, and it's still there. I still had a great time rewatching this, and like a great example of this would be like the first episode, where a lot of story stuff does happen in there. We meet like the agents who would like try to find like, who are trying to figure out the mysteries of the town, and like we still get like a little bit hints here and there of like what Stan is like still working on. And then like, but at the same time, there's still a lot of fun stuff. There's still some really greatly animated sequences, like the zombie fight is like really enjoyable to watch, and like there's still some hilarious lines and jokes, and like the song that they sing at the end, like it's just like the karaoke song is just great. Like I love the songs in this show. Like the original songs for this show are like fantastic, and they're just so much fun to sing. Like, yeah, it's like, you know, it's like it's still fun. And yeah, that's how I describe like this season. It's like definitely more story driven, but it's still fun. Something else that's really cool about this season is that it gives like characters from like season one, like characters that in season one were very kind of one note and like had these traits that they never really strayed away from all that often. But in this season, they kind of give them a bit more like depth and nuance to them. That's like really cool, honestly. And it's like the characters I wasn't expecting. Like Zeus was like, I mean, I was kind of expecting him because he's like one of the main characters. I mean, but even then, still, it was like a little surprising like what exactly they do with him, and it was really cool what they do with him. And like the ones that I wasn't expecting to get like, you know, more like character development or more to their character were Old Man McGucket and Pacifica. It's like so interesting what they do. Let's start with Zeus. He gets like really like some really great episodes in this season, like two specifically that I thought were just amazing. They're like some of my favorite episodes in the entire show. Like in one of them, Blendon's game, where we see the return of the time traveler Blendon Blandon, who is voiced by Justin Roiland, the co-creator of Rick and Morty. And like we basically see like the past version of like Gravity Falls, specifically I think either the early 2000s or 90s, and we see like a young Zeus and like how he's like his father was like not really there for him at all, and so we see like why he's so loyal to like the friends that he does have and like the family that he does have, that being his abuelita, where like you know, right? Because like again, because they're the ones who stay with him and like actually really care for him, and so he sees them more as family than like his actual father, and why we see like why Grunkle Stan is kind of like a father figure to him, and like it really punches you in the heart. It's like so effective, man. It's like, oh man, like it gives me the feels every time. And like another really good episode starring Zeus is Zeus and the Real Girl, where we explore like his love life and that guy, and like how he has trouble like talking to women, and like he really needs to get a date for like his cousin's like wedding. And it's like, oh man, it's like the episode is really good, and we get to see like you know, it's like funny interactions with like women and how terrible he is in the beginning, and then later he gets like this video game that helps him like talk to women better. But it's like, guess what, like a not normal game. It's a dating simulator where like this girl Giffany, or is it Jiffany, is completely obsessed with Zeus and will not let any other girl like talk to him or anything. And so basically when he does eventually get a date, oh yeah, she sabotages that immediately. She takes over like a pizzeria. So it's both the Five Nights at Freddy's episode and Doki Doki Literature Club episode. So that's epic. But yeah, that episode is like legit so good, and like I think like Harmony is great, like the girl that he ends up dating, and like yeah, she's great, and like Giffany is also amazing. Like I love the pixel art on her, and it's like yeah, that episode is like really good, and like it's like, again, I think these Zeus episodes are just like amazing. They're like, again, some of my favorites of the entire show. And like Pacifica in the first season was like this very much like a snobby rich girl who thought she was better than everyone else because, you know, she was rich, and like that was kind of her character in the first season. She was like a rival to Mabel, but in this season we actually get a little bit more to her. Like we actually see a little bit of her, like her actual like life, like specifically her parents and how they treat her. Like we see like in Gulf War that they don't really care too much to like actually like see her succeed and stuff. And then like in one of the best episodes of the season and the entire show, Northwest Mansion Mystery, we see like the Northwest family like throw this epic party in this mansion, but it's being haunted by like a ghost of someone who hates the family and wants to like stop the party and I guess kill them because of like something terrible they did in the past, which is like a big part because like yeah, the Northwest family are not very good people. They have done some real shady stuff, and it's like and we see kind of Pacifica have to live with that, where we see like she knows that she, you know, the family is not good, but she can't really stand up to her parents because they kind of have like this like hold on her where like, you know, right, they make her do whatever, you know, right, they go like, hey, no, you can't wear that dress, you gotta wear this one. It's like, hey, if you can't disobey us and stuff like that. But we see her have to like stand up to that in order to defeat the bad guy, and it's like so well done, honestly. Like Pacifica got like some like character development that I was not expecting at all, especially for like a character that just seemed to be like, hey, just like the snobby rich girl, and like that's really cool. And like one of the biggest surprises when I first watched the show was what they did with McGucket, because in the first season he is just like the crazy hillbilly man. Oh yeah, he kisses raccoons and stuff. He's just that. But then in one episode we find out that he actually is connected to Ford, the author of the journal, and they try to figure out like what is this, you know, like how is he connected, you know. At this time they don't know that it's actually Ford. They don't know who the author is, but they know that McGucket is connected to that, but they don't know how. And then they find out that apparently there's this society, like this secret society in Gravity Falls that wipes everyone's memories in town, and apparently that explains why a lot of people don't seem to notice a lot of the more mysterious stuff or talk about it, and why some of them are not the brightest. And like it's so interesting. It's like, oh my god, it's just like incredible. And it's like, oh, it's such a genius plot for like this kind of show. And it's like, oh my god, it's like so good and it's so interesting. And the biggest surprise is that like it's apparently that McGucket was actually like a scientist, which it was kind of hinted at sort of before, because we see him build like crazy contraptions and stuff. But here we find out, no, he was like a legitimate scientist, like, or at least like an engineer who like who used to have like a good life, but then like he met like the author, and then like, you know, right, he saw some crazy stuff that he wanted to forget, so he invented the device that the Society of the Blind Eye uses to erase other people's minds, and he used it on himself, and he used it way too much to the point that he became crazy and became McGucket. And that was like, oh my god, that reveal, it's like so crazy. It's like it wasn't unexpected at all. I wasn't expecting that at all for this kind of character. But like, oh my god, it was like, that's what makes it so brilliant to me. It's like, oh my god, it's just so well done. I don't know what else. I know I'm saying the same thing, like, oh my god, it's so good. It is. It's just so amazing. And yeah, that was like, yeah, it was unexpected. Another really neat thing about this season is how dark it is. Like, the first season could have dark moments and like dark jokes here and there, but this season can actually have some pretty darn dark moments, like, and dark imagery that, like, I remember like there were times where I was actually kind of scared to watch the show, because like it would air like in the afternoon before like nighttime, before like, you know, I went to bed, and then like I would think like, oh, if I watch this I might have trouble sleeping. But like that's actually kind of a reason why it intrigued me to keep watching, because I wanted to see, all right, what must, I don't know, is that weird? Like, I don't know, I feel like sometimes kids are drawn to like the things that scare them, and like I think that's like a good example of it. And like, oh man, but like, yeah, this season could have some really dark moments, some dark imagery. Like, I could think of so many, like Northwest Mansion Mystery. There are some super well animated scenes that look absolutely horrifying, like the scene where like all the dismembered heads on like animal heads on the wall start bleeding out of their mouths, or like or like the part where like the shapeshifter basically like the shapeshifter like moves and like turns his neck around, like does all that creepy movement. It's so great. Like Weird Mageddon, like there's so much stuff in Weird Mageddon that like is like super freaky, which, oh yeah, I'll get to that, don't worry. But like, yeah, it's like so much like creepy imagery, and it is amazing. Like, yeah, I love that this like that the Gravity Falls team decided to like make some kids crap their pants, and like I love that. I just realized that I am technically going more in depth with more episodes in this season than I am with the previous season. That's because most of the previous season has so many great episodes, don't get me wrong, with so many memorable plots, but like for a lot of them I just say like, oh, this is a really interesting concept and it was really funny. But with like this season, it's like not only can I just say, oh, it's also you know, like this is a really interesting concept and it's also really funny, but also like I could say a lot of this like really cool story and character stuff in it. So that's why I'm sorry if it's just like I go a little bit more in detail with this, but that's probably because it's probably my favorite season of the show, because like most of my favorite episodes come from this. And speaking of like episodes that have more story and character stuff, this is what we're gonna get into. We're gonna go into some big, heavy duty story, big story time episodes. And man, oh man, it's exciting. Like, let's start off with the big one. Not What He Seems. Not What He Seems is a huge episode for this show. It was such a grand reveal for like probably the biggest question people had thus far. What is the machine that Stan is working on? And this episode, the reveal up to that is so well done, and this has got to be one of the best episodes of television I have ever seen. Did I watch it live when it first came out? No, I didn't. No, my dumb butt decided, like, was all like, I mean, I loved Gravity Falls, but like I was all like, I don't need to watch that live, I'll just record it. I don't know, maybe I was doing something dumb, like watching Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2 on my Blu-ray player or something. I don't know what I was doing, but like, yeah, I thought like I didn't watch that, but I did record it though. And like my sisters, I think one of my sisters watched it before I did, and then she was like, oh, you gotta watch it. And I'll be like, yeah, I'll probably do so soon, but first I gotta finish Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2. But I don't know what happened. I guess like maybe it was scratched, or the Blu-ray player was like not working that day. I'm not sure, like maybe it just, but I remember at one point we stopped like the movie we were watching. I don't actually remember if it was Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2. I'm just joking, but it might have been, I don't know. But like the point is that we were doing that, and then like I thought like, hey, you guys just want to go watch that like Gravity Falls episode that we recorded, and we were all like, yeah, sure, and we watched it, and it blew our minds. It is so good. Oh my god, it is a wild ride from beginning to end, and it is it's just so well done. It starts off like a very like normal day for like the Pines family. You see like Stan, Dipper, and Mabel just goofing off, having fun, kind of showing off like how much they grown. Like, hey, he is willing to like admit more that he likes them and hanging out with them, and like you see them, it's like so fun and wholesome and cute. They, you know, right? They shoot off fireworks without a permit, you know, right? Wholesome and cute stuff. But then like we get Stan is like clearly hiding something from them, and he wants to reveal it, but like he doesn't know how yet. And then all of a sudden the agents come in, arresting him, going like, yeah, we know you're up to something. And then they arrest him, and then Dipper and Mabel try to figure out how to get him out, prove that he's innocent. But then later on, the more they realize about their uncle, they start to realize maybe he might not actually be innocent. And this show kind of makes you start questioning, like this episode makes you start questioning, is Stan actually the bad guy? Because we see all these things, like he has like fake IDs and like all this like stuff, and then like, and we see old newspapers, and then we see that like apparently like there's a headline on one of these newspapers that says that Stanford Pines like died. And then like we go like, and they go like, wait, but Stan is, but how, but he's like, how could he be? And then they think like, is their Uncle Stan actually Stan? Could he be someone else? And it's like so crazy. And then we see like Stan also like try to escape like the agents, while like something's going on in the town where gravity is literally falling. Everything's like floating in the sky every now and then, and he has to try to escape because like he says he's got to get back to the machine. And then like, oh my god, it's so crazy. And eventually they all end up to like the room where the machine is, and like they try to stop it, but then Stan goes, no, you gotta let it out. And they go like, why? And then he says he can't tell them, and it's like a whole thing, and it's wild. And then at the end, like it's up to Mabel to decide whether or not it should be like, you know, right, like destroyed or like stopped or whatever. And then he goes like, no, just trust me. And then like the others go, don't trust them. And then she just eventually decides she's gonna trust him. And then boom, there's like this whole thing. And then like, oh, and then at the end, a man comes out of the machine. It turns out to have been a portal. And then a man comes out and takes one of the journals, and it appears that he has 6 fingers. And then they go like, who is that? And then Grunkle Stan goes, the author of the journals, my brother. Permission to faint? That was such a crazy reveal, and it was like a big, like, my brain exploding moment. And it was like, I still hate myself so much for not watching this episode live, because that would have been so amazing if I saw it live. But like, thankfully I didn't get any spoilers, because like I said, I didn't use the internet a lot back then. But it was like, oh my god, it was like that. This episode is like such a masterpiece of television, and that reveal at the, it leaves so many like questions, like what, how, what, and it leaves you like wanting like to continue watching more. And then I remember there being a hiatus, a little hiatus, so wondering that, all right, we gotta wait a little bit longer for the next episode, hopefully it's worth it. And it was. The next episode basically answered like a bunch of the questions we were having after that episode. Like we go like, is Stan actually Stan? Has he actually been like not Stan this whole time? What is the deal with the author of the journals? Why was he in that portal? A whole thing. And man, oh man, yeah, these questions were answered like just so amazingly, and like it was just so satisfying. The episode we're talking about is A Tale of Two Stans, where we basically learn the backstory behind like the Stan twins, Stanley and Stanford, where it turns out Stanley over time, like I guess like the Stan that we knew, Stanford, was actually Stanley, and then like the Stanford, like that's the real Stanford. I'm sounding like like Zeus in the end of the episode right now. But yeah, it's like, it basically goes over like, oh, their past as kids, and like how they used to be close, but then like one day like Stanford, he's the much more like nerdy scientific brother, where Stanley was the more like happy-go-lucky like twin. It sounds very familiar. But like yeah, it's like, and basically they used to be really good friends. But like Stanford got like accepted into like, or was going to get accepted into this big college, and it upset like Stanley, and like he accidentally sabotaged his like machine that would have gotten him into college, and then like a whole fight between them kind of happened, and like Stanley was kicked out of the home, and so he basically had to find his way, like, you know, right, through life. And Stanford went on, it did go to a different college, and like decided to study the paranormal stuff, specifically in Gravity Falls, where he like wrote the journals and like started like writing everything, you know, right, about all the weird stuff he encountered while Stanley was like, you know, doing his usual thing, using like selling scams to people, or like scamming people, selling like hacky products, all that stuff. But one day they actually meet up together because apparently like Stanford like got into some trouble, and like they need to reconnect. But it turns out no, he just wanted Stanley to take the journals and get them far away from him as possible, or take one of the journals far away from him, away from Gravity Falls as possible. I'm stuttering way too much. I'm sorry. It's just there's so much to cover in this, and it's like it's really hard. But like it's basically it's like we get that, and then we get another fight between them, and apparently this fight accidentally caused like Stanford to go to the portal and enter like the multiverse, and then like now and later Stanley was just trying to get it back up and running, and in the meantime, while doing that, he decided to take over like the house that Stanford lived in, and basically take his identity and make the Mystery Shack where he made money. And then then later the show happened, and now we're back to this. I probably messed some words up here and there, but it's because again there's so much to cover, and like, oh man, it's like I cannot do this episode justice. It is legit so good. Like it's like a perfect like explanation for like all these questions we were having, and it feels so satisfying. Like I said, I probably messed something up in this explanation because I'm talking way too fast, but it's because that's how good this episode is. It makes me so excited, and like, oh my god, it's just like it really is great. And then like at the end they're able to like stop the government agents, like erase their memories, and it seems like everything's good and dandy now. We even got a new character, Ford, but like there's still some beef between those two, like Stanley and Stanford, and it's like, what's gonna happen with that? And Dipper and Mabel are pretty similar to them, or at least how they used to be. Will the same thing happen to them? Leaves these questions, but we'll save that for later. The point is, this is a good explanation for all the questions we had before, and then it leaves even more stuff that we are excited to see continue on, and it's just a great episode. Speaking of Stanford, let's talk about him. He's the new character, and we'll call him Ford for short. Ford for short, because as the other characters call him, and like basically he's like the very much more scientific brother, the one who thinks with his mind before his fist, right? The one who uses his mind before his fist. That's the actual right term. But he does use his fist though, because he can have some really cool moments of action, and like it's really cool. Like right? When you watch the show, you really wonder like, oh my god, what is this author like? Right? Like this author that wrote these like journals, and this does not disappoint. He is like a really cool character, and like he adds like some really like cool new stuff to the table. He kind of adds like this like thing that like Stan has to like compete with, because before he was like, he was kind of like the sort of cool, at least somewhat, to the eyes of like the twins, but like now that Ford's here and he like knows all this knowledge of like science stuff and like the Gravity Falls, it's like sort of like competition, and like it makes like it's really interesting like new thing to bring to the table. And like he's voiced by J.K. Simmons, and he does such an amazing job. Like J.K. Simmons is like one of my favorite actors of all time, and like his voice performance in this is just so incredible. He's like amazing in almost any role he's in. But yes, Stanford, great new character, and yeah, he's just awesome. Another really interesting to talk about this season is who the big villain is. Like I said, that little Gideon was like the villain the first season, and he was a pretty good threat in it. He could also be like really funny. Like again, like seeing his like little child size, like his like design, like how cute it is, and then you see him get like angry and like do all this big stuff. It's hilarious, honestly. And yeah, little Gideon is a great villain for the first season. And like yeah, so the first season villain was a child, and the second season we got a demon triangle man. Seamless transition. But yes, Bill Cipher, we first saw him in Dreamscapers back in like not the first episode, like in the first season. And like I said, I think I said this before, but the creators weren't sure if Bill was gonna be like a big threat or just like a goofy character that would like annoy the main characters or something. Like they weren't sure what were his intentions or anything like that. But I guess in season 2 they decided that hey, he would be the big villain, and he works really great as a villain. Like man, he's got like both this like charisma and also like menacing like tone to him. I don't know how else to say it, but it's like they kind of, he's like he could be like really funny, but at the same time legit feel like a threat. And it's like it's done really well. Like I love his design. It's like so simple, just the triangle, but like they're able to like kind of do these things where like they could like mess it all up to look all scary and stuff. It's like it works really well. And yeah, Bill is just like he's just a great villain. And this season we see him take again much more of a villainous role, where like we see him like say that he's planning like something but we're not sure what it is. And like, and we also learned that he has a connection with Ford, where like Ford he thought they were friends, but no, Bill betrayed him, and Ford kind of helped him like set up like the plans to like for a weird Mageddon, like this big apocalyptic thing to happen, which we will talk about. But like, and then like there are some episodes where we see him like try to like stop it from happening, and in that process we see him like befriend Dipper more, and which makes sense because they both have a lot of things in common. They both really care about the mysteries of the town and like are into science and things like that. And I think that's a really good bond. You know, I thought that was a really good bond to explore. And something interesting that I thought was that like it almost kind of seems like Ford sees himself in Dipper, but yet I think it's like probably best if Dipper does not become like Ford. You know. I am going to talk a little bit more about what I mean by that, but first, like, let's talk about, like, some other episodes that appeared after A Tale of Two Stands that came out that I thought were pretty fun, and I wanted to talk about. Like, first off, like the Diggity Dungeons and all that was, like, the commercial in it. Dungeons, and More Dungeons. It's a really fun, like, D&D type of episode. Weird Al Yankovic shows up in it, and I love him. And it's, like, yeah, it's just really funny. Same thing goes for like The Last Journey in Canada, where we see Stan run for mayor. That one's really funny. And there's like The Last Mabel Corn that one was pretty funny as well. But also that's the one where we learn about like the stuff between like Ford and like Bill, and we see this kind of bond between like more of the bond with like Dipper and Ford that I was talking about before. And I want to talk about one more episode, which I think I'm not the only one that thinks this, but it's probably the weakest episode of the show. That would be I don't actually remember what it was called. All these other episodes, I could say the name of, like, immediately, but, like, with this one, I forgot. I'm sorry. I know, fake Gravity Falls fan right here. It was called Roadside Attraction. I had to look it up. And it's, like, it's not a bad episode at all. I still laughed at it quite a few times, but I don't know, something about it was just, like, it was fine, you know, right? It was okay. It's that, like, when I say it's the weakest, that does not mean it's bad at all. In fact, I don't think Gravity Falls has a single bad episode. And, like, I mean, it's gotta be something where the only episode that I call the weakest is, I could only say is okay, but still has some good laughs in there. It's like, that still shows how good of a show it is. Like, the weakest episode is just okay. And honestly, but yeah, like, this episode, like, I don't know, it's kind of about, like, Dipper trying to gain more confidence and, like, talking with women. And we see, like, this, like, I actually, part of the episode that I really like is seeing like Dipper and like Stan bond more. I thought that was really good. But like I don't know, it's like I think like the main thing that kind of like took me off of it was like the Dipper and Candy stuff. Like I don't know, that feels kind of too fanficky for me. But like overall, the episode was still pretty okay, and it was still pretty funny. There were still some really good laughs in there. So yeah, I gotta say, like again, the worst episode of the show is just okay. So that should be a positive sign of how good like everything else is. You know, right? If the weakest episode is just okay. One more episode I want to talk about before we get to Weird Mageddon, is Dipper and Mabel versus the Future, where I've seen a lot of people's top 10 best episodes of Gravity Falls list or whatever, and I usually don't see this one on there, but it's just, I don't know, and maybe it's just me, but I personally really like this episode because it's like a really good, like, calm before the storm type of episode, you know what I mean? Like, it feels like, oh, hey, this is, like, a nice adventure with some pretty good stuff in there that's, like, you know, right? Feels like, again, like the calm before the storm, that storm being Weird Mageddon, and like there's some really good stuff in this episode, some really good drama stuff I really like. Like I really love like where this one we see like Dipper and Mabel like talk about how they're gonna turn 13 soon, like on the last day of summer, because their summer Gravity Falls is about to end soon. And they talk about how like, hey, you know, it's gonna be so cool, but then and then they kind of go on separate missions. Dipper goes with Ford to find like this like alien adhesive for like this rift that they're trying to protect that Bill should not get his hands on, because if he does, oh boy, there's gonna be some bad trouble. But like he goes with him, and then Mabel goes around to try to find try to plan the party. But then over time she kind of learns that like, hey, things are about to change, and like she's really scared about it, and she goes like, well, at least I'll have Dipper. But then like after like their big mission, like Ford and like Dipper, like Ford goes like, hey, what if you be my apprentice? I can teach you, and then you could stay here, we could do all this crazy stuff. And then like Mabel overhears that, and then she goes like, she's really upset about it, because like if Dipper like, you know, right, he said yes, and it'd be like, oh, she feels like so sad because like, you know, she'll be all alone without him. And I know some people talk about how like it's not fair, like Dipper gets like this big opportunity, and like, you know, Mabel should like you know, right, just should like be happy for him and not be so selfish. But then like I heard and I thought like that was a really interesting, I don't think I ever believed that, personally, but like at first I thought like I can see that being like, you know, like kind of a thing like that people would be upset about. But then like I heard this really interesting thing that Alex Hirsch mentioned in the commentary episode, in the commentary of the episode. He said this, that if Dipper had gone with Ford, he would have missed out on all the important stuff like a kid his age should have, you know, right? Like friends, like the outdoors, you know, right? You know, time with his sister. If he had ended up with Ford, there's a chance he could have been like McGucket, you know, right? Who, you know, right? He could see all this stuff that could traumatize him at his age, and like, you know, right? It's like, yeah, sure, he could become like a big like mystery solving like person, but at the same time, like he is still a kid. He should have a childhood, you know, right? And maybe he shouldn't be locked up in a basement, you know, right? And like I thought that was really interesting, and when I heard that kind of put like this new perspective on it. I was like, oh my god, it kind of makes like something that show up in a later episode like feel like really like a lot more like emotional, and like makes it feel a little bit more right, like with the direction that they went in one episode. But I don't know, I found that really interesting, and I really wanted to talk about it. But like, yeah, Dipper and Mabel versus the future, like I think that stuff in there between those two is like really interesting. And then like Mabel gets like really sad, and then she like runs off, and then like Blandon just appears again. He goes like, hey, you know, I can like create this thing where you can have just like a few more days of summer, you know, right? Wouldn't that be fun? All I need is like this like rift, and it's like, and then like Mabel hands it to him, and then it turns out that ain't Blandon. Well, it is, but he's being possessed by Bill, and then he grabs it, and then he smashes it, and then boom, Weird Mageddon begins. And it just ends there, and it ends with like the credits playing, and then we just hear the screams of everyone from town, and it is so wild. Again, this episode was the calm, and then the end was the storm. It was calm before the storm. It's like, I don't know, that's why I really like this episode. Like, oh my god, it's just like that moment, oh my god, it is wild. And then that's not even the wildest part of the season. We gotta talk about the series finale, Weird Mageddon. There is so much to say about Weird Mageddon that I honestly don't know how to start it, man. It's like, this is such a wild finale. It's a multi-part finale, but it's comprised of 3 parts or 4, depending on how you look at it. The way it was promoted was that there was part 1, there was part 2, and then part 3 was like part 1 and part 2 were like the size of regular episodes. Part 2 was like a full like 40-minute or 44-minute like episode. On Disney Plus, it's they just split it into 2, so it's like 4 parts there. But I consider it 3 parts because that's the way I remember it being advertised and the way I saw it. And oh man, this was such a wild ride of a series finale. It's got to be one of the best series finale I have ever seen, and it's like, again, so wild. It is like, it has so much crazy stuff, so many like great character moments, some emotional moments in there. It's overall just a satisfying ending to the show. And I guess I should actually talk about what happens in it. So let's start with Weird Mageddon Part 1. So in Weird Mageddon Part 1, we get to see Gravity Falls when the weirdness becomes chaotic and overtakes everything. Bill has won, and weirdness, like I said, overtakes everything, and it is so crazy the stuff they come up with. Like, again, like they really put like their A game in this, like seeing like all the crazy messed up stuff that these like messed up minds came up with, and it's like, oh my god, it is incredible. And like, it's such a great beginning because it really sets up like all the situation we're in, whereas like this isn't the same Gravity Falls, and like Bill has the upper hand and everything, and Dipper is like separated from like Mabel, and so like him, and like when he meets up with like Wendy and Zeus, they gotta try to save her. But like Gideon, here's something I forgot to mention before. Gideon went to prison this season because of his crimes in the first one. So yeah, now that that's mentioned, in this one we see like Gideon and the prisoners start like this Mad Max Fury Road type of thing, where it's like where they try to stop him because they work for Bill, and they gotta protect Mabel, who is being in like he's being like trapped in this giant bubble. But then Dipper says like, hey, no, this is not cool. Mabel wouldn't want this, and like we can't let Bill win. And like they're eventually convinced, you know, right? Because fighting children is boring. Fighting like a Satan god thing is much more fun, you know, right? And it's like, you know, again, it's just so well done. Like, I think this is such a good starter for like this like apocalypse that the show has set up, because again, it puts us like in this new version of Gravity Falls where it seems like the impossible has happened, you know, right? Bill like has won, and it seems like there is no way to beat him, and it like really sets you up for like the wild ride this is gonna be. Like, again, this ain't the same Gravity Falls, and like it even has like a different intro this episode where it's like all distorted and messed up, and it is so well done. And it's like, oh my god, like again, this is like a perfect starter for like what we're about to get. And so let's move on to Weird Mageddon Part 2, Mabel Land. In Weird Mageddon Part 2, we see Dipper Wendy and Zeus go into the bubble that not Wendy, Mabel was trapped in, and we see that Bill has made like this perfect world for Mabel that has everything that she loves: stuffed animals, stickers, glitter everywhere. Right? It's got like Kaz and Zyler, I believe those were their names. Right? I forgot to mention them. They appeared in Dreamscapers. They were like these hunky dream boys that Mabel loves, and like they're here and they're lawyers and stuff, and they're great. And it's like this is like honestly amazing. It has so many callbacks to a bunch of stuff, like a bunch of Mabel related stuff in the past, like the waffle guards and everything. We see like, oh man, it's just so fun to to pause and like see all the little things, like, oh, this is from this episode, hey, this is from that, and like, it is so great. There's like a Judge Cat voiced by Jon Stewart. It's like, it's so, oh my god, again, it is like totally 100% Mabel. And the conflict of this is that Mabel wants to be in this world. She thinks, hey, fantasy is better than reality, but like Dipper is trying to convince her, like, no, we need to go back, right? And it kind of goes into this thing. It's like a really good, like, again, like I said, like the conflict between those two is really good, like the drama with them. And we get to like this really fun like a court scene where we like see like they kind of talk about, hey, which is better, staying here or going out there? And then they kind of talk about how, like, right, they've had like bad stuff happen to them in the past, but then like Dipper goes, no, yes, we had bad stuff happened to us, but at the end we were always able to make it out well because we were with each other. And like we basically hear him say that, hey, he's not going to take the apprenticeship with Ford anymore. He's going to be with Mabel, with her back home. And I thought, like, really great stuff. I heard some people say, like, hey, again, this is not fair. Like, going back to what I was saying about different Mabel versus the future, people saying, like, Mabel should just be happy that his brother gets this big opportunity. And in some cases, I don't think I ever agree with it, but I was on the mindset, it's like, yeah, I guess I can see people, feeling that way, though. But I think, like I said, after I heard that commentary, it put things into, like, a new perspective where I thought, like, oh, no, wait, Ford is, like, not the best caretaker, though. And, like, seeing, like, Dipper, like, waste his childhood that way is probably not the best thing for him, right? He needs to learn to, like, right, communicate with, like, I guess other people and, like, have a childhood. And, like, I think knowing that, it kind of, like, again, makes this, like, moment feel, like, honestly, even more better than I already thought it was. It makes it even more, like, emotionally work well, because we see them reunite again and everything looks good, but then, oh wait, no, because she rejected this, like, everything starts at the store whatever, and then like it all looks all messed up. It's horrifying, but then they get out and they're back into reality. Oh wait, that's right, Bill is still taking over Gravity Falls. Yeah, so reality is still horrifying. But then that leads, oh wait, I forgot to mention something. Then they get back to the mystery shack, hoping that everything's gonna be good, and then they see that a bunch of characters are there, like Stan, Pacifica, Candy, Grenda, and a bunch of other like side characters and one-off characters from like season 1 and season 2. It is honestly great. It's like honestly so many great callbacks, and it's like we're going to like, oh, what's gonna happen next? Well, we're gonna find out in the final part, sort of. If you want to consider part 4, it's also its own part, but I don't. I consider part 3 and 4 as part the same part as part 3. You get what I mean? Final part. Part 3, Weirdmageddon Part 3, Take Back the Falls. Now this is the big one. Weirdmageddon Part 3, Take Back the Falls. We see a bunch of characters, the main characters, Dipper, Mabel, Zeus, Wendy, Uncle Stan, and like a bunch of side characters, one-off characters, all team up together to take on Bill. And oh my god, it is so good. I am a fan of that show, having like all the characters that we see in the show thus far team up to beat the big baddie. I love it in Avatar, and I love it in like Amphibia, and I love it in this. This is just amazing, and like, oh man, I am so. It made me so excited when I first saw it. Like, I think I mentioned this, but like when the commercial for this episode first appeared, like I did not know it was gonna be like the series finale at all. So it was a shock to me, honestly. And I was like, oh well, if this is gonna be the series finale, it better do something big, and it did, man. Another thing that I want to mention is a little bit of a side thing. I remember like Disney XD was doing like a marathon of Gravity Falls, but like it was like a multiple day marathon. But the thing is, Gravity Falls does not have that many episodes to last multiple days, so they just repeated the same ones over and over again. And I watched it a ton, and I even like I watched like a lot of it before like the finale. I don't know, I just thought that'd be interesting to mention. And like yeah, so I watched this finale with my sisters. I guess I should be mentioning that like, yes, I watched this show a lot with my sisters. They were with me with a lot of these big events. I think I mentioned that a few times, but like I don't know if I fully made that clear. They were even with me with that like episode that I said about where we first met Little Gideon. They were with me when we were at my tia's house, you know. So basically, okay, I'm getting off track. The point is, this episode is big and it's grand. It's so much crazy, amazing stuff happens in it, and I am like, oh my god, it's so good. Okay, well, first of all, like, they all team up and they make up this plan, and then like they use all their skills to create this giant robot. They take the mystery shack and create a giant robot to take on like Bill's henchmaniacs, and so that they can get into like the pyramid where he's at, so they can save all the people inside who were turned into statues and put into this throne of humans, which is like a horrifying image. And it's like, oh my god, it's like, again, it's like so much crazy stuff happens. Like the giant robot fight itself is so cool, and then we hear like a rock version theme of the Gravity Falls theme, like and I'm just like, it's so amazing. And, like, the fight itself is so good, and then a couple of the characters, specifically the main characters and like a few others, are shot into the pyramid while the giant robot is fighting Bill, and they save everyone, including Ford. And then Ford has this plan to save everyone in like Gravity Falls, and stop this weird Mageddon business. And it basically includes the circle. Alright, I gotta explain this. So something I forgot to mention was that, at the end of every episode, you would see, like, this wheel during, like, after the credits that would show off, like, different symbols of the show. It would be, like a hat, a pair of glasses, and ice, stuff like that. Like, all these symbols, and people were like wondering, like, what does that mean? Like, all these symbols have to represent like a character though, right? Because we've seen them on various characters and things like that. And apparently in the actual commentary it was revealed that it was just like a cute little thing. They weren't expecting to do anything with it, but in the finale they decided, okay, it'll be like a thing that they think will stop Bill, but it won't be the solution. But around the time, fans thought, like, no, it was gonna be the thing. It was gonna be the thing that stopped Bill. And like, I kinda sorta thought so as well when I first saw it. I was like, oh, the circle, that's a thing that we've seen before, so it has to be the thing. But ultimately they try it, but it doesn't work because Ford and Stan aren't able to agree, because like they're still kind of bickering with each other, and it kind of stops like the flow of the circle, and like they're fighting. And so like Bill is able to like stop the whole thing, and like it freezes like a bunch of the characters, makes them into like these like curtain things, and it captures like Stan and Ford, and like Dipper and Mabel escape. But it's like a whole thing, and some people thought that was a little disappointing, because they thought it's like, oh man, like we really thought that circle was gonna mean more. And like, yeah, in hindsight, like I still sort of think that, even knowing the context, that like, oh no, they always intended it to be like they only intended it at first to be just like a cute little a cool little image, but then they ended up like, no, this will be like a possible solution, but not the solution to stop Bill. Even knowing that, I still think that was like a little bit disappointing, because I don't know, it still feels like it should have been like a little bit bigger, like, this like reveal of what it is. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, it doesn't bother me too much, because a lot of the good stuff in this episode, like the finale, is so good that it overshadows this. But basically, Dipper and Abel are able to run away from Bill, and they got to stop him. But then Stan and Ford talk about like how can they stop it. And then they realize that like Ford really wants the information that's in not Ford. Bill really wants. I'm sorry, I'm messing up my words, because like, oh man, I'm talking way too much. I've been talking way too much. I'm not good at this kind of stuff. So like, Bill really wants the information that's in Ford's head, and so they decide to do this plan. So Bill eventually captures Dipper and Mabel and plans to kill them, but then apparently Ford stands up and said, nope, you can take whatever you want that's in my head, the thing that will try to help him take this whole weird getting thing, not just away from Gravity Falls, and just still in Gravity Falls, but also around the world, the universe even, right? And so he goes in. But then it turns out, oh no, he ain't in Ford's head. He's actually in Stan's head. They switch clothes, and so now their plan is while Bill is in Stan's head, they're gonna erase Stan's memory. They're gonna do a sacrifice thing and take down Bill once and for all. And while he's in there, and it's everything is being erased. We see all the imagery there is so cool, and then we see Bill basically trying to fight his way out, and we see him shapeshift to all these forms. Oh, we gotta stop. And then Stan goes hey, look at me, you one-eyed freak. You don't mess with my family. He has a Vin Diesel moment and just punches him, and it is just so wild and crazy. It is, oh my god, it's so good. And then Bill is officially defeated, and Weird Mageddon is finished, but there's still the issue with Stan, who has now lost his memories. Yeah, Stan has lost all his memories, and like he doesn't remember Dipper, Mabel, Ford, Zeus, none of them. And it leads to like this really emotional moment where they go back to the shack and it's all like destroyed and stuff, and like he sits down and everyone else is like so sad while like he has no idea what's going on, and it seems like, man, have we truly lost Stan? But then Waddles, dang, I just realized I don't think I mentioned Waddles at all. Waddles is Mabel's pet pig she won at a fair. All right, now that that's made, Waddles jumps in on him and like you know, right, he starts remembering stuff. He goes like, oh, Waddles, stop that. He goes, you remember that? It's like, yeah. It's like, and he starts remembering stuff, and then they bring him like a scrapbook that Mabel has that shows up all the memories of like, you know, of the summer they've had, and like it starts bringing back his memories and all that, and it's so good. Some people might call this a cop out, and well, like I somewhat agree with that. I don't know. I feel like it's still like a really nice moment. Plus, I think there is like an explanation in the journal 3, which we will talk about a bit later, that like because like the effects are of the memory gun are still like recent, they're able to like recover before it's like gone. It's too much gone forever, if that makes any sense. And it does still like take like a little bit of time to like try to regain all this stuff, like you know, right? And so like I don't know. But again, like I personally feel like the moment was really nice and sweet, and like I don't know. I'd say I really like it. Plus, like it would be sad if like, you know, like Stan would like completely gone forever, because he's like one of my favorite characters. He might even be my favorite character in this show. He's just amazing. But yeah, like this scene was like still really emotional and well done. And yeah, let's continue on, like and then later on we see like everything is going back to normal, at least what Gravity Falls calls normal. Like all the characters are doing well, some of them are doing a bit better, you know, right? McGucket bought like the Northwest Manor because like they had to sell it, and like everything seems good and all. They're celebrating Dipper and Mabel's 13th birthday and like you know, their final day in Gravity Falls for the summer. And it seems like, yeah, it's like really nice. It's a really nice moment. And then like we get to the point where like they have to go back home and they're saying goodbye, and it is, oh my god, it's so emotional. And like Dipper and Wendy get this like really nice moment. I really like their friendship. Like I know it started out as like a kind of like a sort of romance, at least for Dipper, it started off as a possible romance, but as it went on they became like just like really solid friends, and like I really like that a lot. And like Mabel says goodbye to Candy and Grenda, and like the Zeus and has to say goodbye, and Stan says goodbye, but he says it in his own way, like that he'll miss them, and it's like it's so well done. And man, oh man, like the emotions hit so well. And then they eventually go home, and Dipper looks at this letter that Wendy gave him before he left, and it's basically a signature from all their friends in Gravity Falls saying see you next summer, showing off that like, hey, you know, right, maybe there's a chance we could see this show return. Probably not though. But like no, it ends, they go off, and then boom, Gravity Falls has officially ended, and this finale is so good. One of the best finales to a show I've ever seen. It hits with all the crazy weirdness you expect from the show, but no, even to an a grander scale. It does it so well. It does great with the action, the emotions, and like it's just a solid ending for such an amazing show. Just a great finale. And yeah, it truly is like, yeah, just amazing. I'm kind of tearing up just thinking about it again. But like, yeah, I just like this again. I'm sorry about this, but yeah, this finale is just incredible, and it'd be a perfect way to end off the video. But no, we still got more stuff to talk about. Yup, there are still some more things I want to cover. One of those things being the fan stuff that was going on while the show was airing, specifically the speculations and theories and stuff like that. And I've been looking up some of those older videos now, like the theory videos and stuff like that, and they're like really fun to watch. It kind of shows me like, I think, like I said this before, while Gravity Falls was airing, I was a kid and I didn't really use the internet like a lot, so I wasn't aware of all this like all this stuff that was going on with like the fan base trying to like come up with like theories about what's gonna happen in the next episode or anything like that, or like with the Circle Men or something. So like looking them up now and seeing them, it kind of like shows me like a bit like a part of the this time where I was technically there, but like a part of it that I wasn't aware of, which is like honestly really cool. I had a really good time seeing that, and I discovered some stuff. Like for example, one person during while season 1 was still airing basically predicted the big twist of season 2, that Grunkle Stan's twin brother wrote the journals. And then the crew behind the show were all like, how did this guy figure it out? And so then what they did to distract people from that is like they didn't want to like take it down because that'd be bad, and like you know and stuff like that. And so to distract people from that, they instead posted a picture of like McGucket writing the journals, and then people were like, oh my god, McGucket's the author, and then like later it was revealed that that was a joke and a whole thing, but it did distract people from that person's theory. And it is like, wow, that is like wild to me that someone like figured it out that quickly, you know, right? Again, during season 1, and that is awesome. In fact, that person was actually, that whole thing about the person figuring it out is actually kind of referenced in the episode Dungeons and More Dungeons. The Starlink poster is back up because like the for some reason the Bill Cipher thing just kept falling off after like in between filming, and I don't know why. I'm gonna blame it on Bill Cipher just because, but yeah, I'm tired of dealing with it, so like we got that back up. Another fun theory that I remember being like really popular was one that I actually discovered like a little bit after the show ended. Like I believe like maybe a year or two after. It was like, I think it was around the time where I got my very first cell phone, my first iPhone and everything. And like I didn't have like a phone as a kid. Like I'm not like not like kids nowadays where like I have a little cousin who got his cell phone when he was like 7 or 8 or something. I had to wait till I was 13. We're like, oh, it's like, bro, what the heck? But it's a whole. I'm not gonna complain about that. I gotta get back to this. Okay, so there was this really popular theory that's kind of out there. It's that the show Gravity Falls was somehow connected to the show Rick and Morty, two pretty completely different shows, at least like in a lot of ways. Obviously one being like for a kid's show, and the other one being like an adult animated show. But it was kind of a fun theory to see because you saw people see all these little Easter eggs and how the shows would reference one another in like their own ways. And it was kind of neat, right? It's especially cool since knowing that now that the creators of the show are actually like good friends. Even like I said, Justin Roiland, the co-creator of Rick and Morty, does a voice in like right in Gravity Falls as Blendon Blandon. So it's like, I don't know, seeing these little Easter eggs is neat, and like just thinking about like, hey, can you imagine like Ford was in the multiverse, and so what if he was like hanging out with like Rick or something? Like, wouldn't that be neat? And it's not a theory that I necessarily believe, but it's just fun to think about because this was at the time when like talking about Rick and Morty online was fun, not like nowadays. I mean, like I remember it being fun. And like I even remember it, like this theory being my introduction to Rick and Morty, and it got me to watch it. So that's something. And yeah, I remember it being fun. Maybe it actually wasn't. Like I said, like it was my early starts on the internet, so maybe I was just there was a big part that I just wasn't seeing. But yeah, I remember it being fun. Not like nowadays. It's not really fun to talk about Rick and Morty. But that's a conversation for a whole another day. I'm not sure if anyone else remembers this, but I remember Disney XD once having like this but before the series finale, they had like this special that had like Alex Hirsch, the creator of the show, talking with Time Baby, and then they went over like the behind the scenes of the show, like hey, here's the the inspiration for like Bill, or like right, saying like this is what he was designed after, and then like it's like learning about the inspiration for the Lammy dance, right, in the inconveniencing, and then going like, oh, here's the little things you miss here and there, like the probably didn't notice the first time. And I remember thinking it was so cool. Like as a kid, I was always fascinated with the behind the scenes of like movies. And so like I remember I would always get like my DVDs and Blu-rays, and like I would always like go to the special features after I finished watching them, seeing like, oh man, I gotta see like how they made this stuff. And so seeing this was just like awesome to me. Like I just thought I was like, oh, Sony, like the creator of the show is telling me all these little things that I didn't notice, and it gave me like an even more of a bigger appreciation for the show. Like it made me love it even more, and I just remember it being so cool. That special. Like, does anyone else remember that? I forgot what it was called, but like, man, I remember like it being so cool. I think they might have done like another one, like an extended version afterwards with even more things or something extra. I'm not sure, but like I definitely remember something like that. But overall, like I just want to talk about this because I just thought it was really cool. I remember a few years after the show ended, it was announced that Shout Factory, who does a really good job with like Blu-ray and DVD releases, they do such a fantastic job. It was announced that they would be making a full release of like the show, like on Blu-ray and DVD, a full physical release, and I thought that was so cool, and I wanted it so badly. I asked her for my birthday, and like at the time I did not have money for the Blu-ray release. It was a little bit too pricey for me, and at the time money was a little tight, and my mom ended up getting me the DVD release instead of the Blu-ray one, which honestly I'm okay with, because this is technically what I wanted. I wanted the entire show, my favorite show at the time, on a physical set, all the DVDs with every episode with commentaries for each one, and I thought that was just so amazing. And like here's the thing, I wanted this a lot because at the time, like I don't think we had any streaming. I mean, we might have had Netflix, but not many others, and also Disney Plus wasn't a thing yet. But like, so this was the only way I could watch the show again. But honestly, like I said, I was so happy to get this, even if it wasn't the Blu-ray one. I didn't really care because I just wanted the show again, and the fact that it has these commentaries, still has a special feature, the commentaries, is just so good because, like I said before, I was a kid who always really cared about like the process behind making like movies and stuff like that, and so here I got to learn the process of like what it took to make this show, and like so many fantastic people are in this commentary. Like first of all, like Alex Hirsch, the creator, of course, but then you also got like Michael Rianda, Rob Ranzetti, Shion Takeuchi. If I pronounced your name wrong, I am so sorry. And then you got voice actors like Jason Ritter and Kristen Shaw, and it's like so many fantastic people, and like I learned so much about like what it took to make this show, and then like even like just the process of storytelling. I learned so much from this. It was really informative, and it's just so amazing. And yeah, I really like this so much. Maybe one day I'll get the Blu-ray release just to see what I missed out on, but for now I'm happy with this. I'm really happy. It's like one of the best birthday gifts I ever got. So something I didn't mention before was that in between season 1 and 2 of Gravity Falls, there was actually another form of Gravity Falls content that I wasn't aware of until much later on, which were the shorts. I don't remember seeing them on like TV when in between the seasons. I remember seeing them like afterwards, like on TV, like during like season 2 or even after that. And I don't remember these at all, which is weird because like I know, like I said, that it felt like there was no Gravity stuff content at all, but I guess there were, and I just didn't see them. I don't know what that was all about, man. I guess I'm not a Gravity Falls super fan like I say I am. I'm sorry. But hey, why don't we rectify that by talking about these shorts, because they're pretty fun. First off, we got like Dipper's Guide to the Unexplained. In these shorts, we see like Dipper with his video camera cataloging all like the weird stuff that he encounters in Gravity Falls, usually like a new thing or like weird thing or creature, and it's basically like, hey, they want to talk about like these like weird things that would probably not get its own specific episode. And yeah, they're pretty funny. Next we got Mabel's Guide, where we see her talk about all the things that, specific topics like art, color, stickers, Mabel-y type of topics, and we see all her wacky shenanigans. And yeah, pretty funny. Next up we got Fixing It with Zeus. It's Zeus hosts like this little, like, I guess a web show where he fixes things in his own Zeus way, and yeah, they're pretty funny. We got TV shorts where we see like Gravity Falls public access TV, and we see like all the kind of stuff that shows up in like on Gravity Falls television, and like various commercials and stuff like that, and they're pretty funny. And Mabel's scrapbook, it's these shorts involve like Mabel telling a story from her scrapbook where she where they recall like some events that the Pines had and like some funny story here and there, and yeah, weirdly enough, pretty funny. Now, let's talk about literature. First off, I'm going to talk about Gravity Falls Lost Legends, the graphic novel, which out of the 2 Gravity Falls books that I own, this is the second one to come out, so I should probably talk about that one first because it came out first. But then again, like, I did talk about the shorts, like, that came out in between season 1 and 2 after I did season 2. So, like, it's like, clearly I'm not going in chronological order anymore, so let's just continue. So the Gravity Falls Lost Legends book has, like, 4 new adventures, basically, that are, I guess I'm assuming, canon to the story. And they're basically like 4 like small size adventures so that you can have, hey, more Gravity Falls in your life, and more Gravity Falls in my life is a good thing. First story is Face It, which is a Pacifica centered story that has her like wanting to fix something wrong with her face, a wrinkle, oh no, with like a paranormal solution, but it's not good. It backfires and it ends up stealing Mabel's face. So Dipper and Pacifica have to go out and get it. So, and it basically it's a pretty fun story. It feels like a pretty like just a fun Gravity Falls style story with some really great art. Like, this artwork is amazing. Let's give credit to okay, so the artwork in this entire book is amazing, so I want to give credit to these people right here. Yeah, but yeah, like, the artwork is like really great, and the story is just pretty fun. It's probably like I don't want to say the weakest, because like it's still very good, but like yeah, it's probably like, if I had to rank them all, this would probably be like number 4. But hey, it's still very good. It's still fun, and yeah, it does have like a message that's very much like, oh hey, just nobody looks perfect, so just be okay with that, right? And like, but yeah, like it's like, yeah, kind of a simple message, but it works for like Pacifica's character. But yeah, this one was just a pretty fun. The next story is Comics Up, and like, okay, look, I know, I really am afraid of spoiling this one because I know this is like a spoiler like kind of video. I've been spoiling a bunch of stuff with the show, but and like there's a chance that, hey, if you haven't gotten any Gravity Falls related content before, you're still like watching this just because. Look, I want to say, like, look, I really do not want to spoil this one because this one has so many, like, so much good stuff in it, comics up. So like I highly recommend reading this. But I will be spoiling some really cool stuff, so like, you know, just keep that in mind. But basically, this is a story where like Zeus shares his comic books with like the Mystery Shack gang, and like, hey, you know, right, they're reading comics, but like Uncle Stan hates it, and then like I guess he like pisses off like this like this evil cursed box with the comics, and you know, or like the comics, I mean, like the cursed box makes the comics, you know, cursed, whatever. I'm not good at explaining stuff. Anyway, the point is the comics, you know, right, take over his life, and now they're stuck in a they have to go in the comics to save him, and basically, this happens. Yes, they switch art styles, and it is so amazing. Like, I love everything about this. This is like probably my favorite one. Yeah, I think this is my favorite one, honestly. It is so good, and like the different art style changes they do, and like all the jokes. This is like probably the funniest one to me, honestly. Like, this is the one that I laughed at the most while reading, and that is like so good. And like, oh my god, it's like I love this, and it's just like, yeah, it's not like some of the next ones are a little bit more like deep with like some more character stuff in them, but like yeah, I don't know. This was just my favorite because it's the funniest, and like I love the little jokes that they have here, and it's just like I love the art style changes. It's just great, and yeah, this is my favorite one. Don't Dimension It. This is the third one in here, and it's like, again, also really great art. And this kind of feels like one that they like made so that they can like make those like, so this is for like those people that like say that they hated Mabel's character, which I guess I didn't really talk about before. It's like basically some people hate Mabel because they thought she was like too selfish and stuff like that. But like, I don't know, I feel like people forget that she's 12. And like 12-year-olds, like kids aren't like perfect people. Yeah, they can have selfish moments in here, but it's like, and I do feel like Mabel grows overall, you know, right? She does become like a better person by the end, and she does learn lessons here and there. But like, you know, right? Still, some people feel like that, and this feels like This feels like a story written for them to see. Like, no, look here, we're gonna give Mabel a character arc, and here it's like basically we get to see the multiverse. I've been showing this. Yes, we get to see the multiverse in this, and like basically we see her come to a world of Mabels, and it is like so amazing. Like look at all this. This is incredible, and like, oh my god, this one's really funny. There are some great jokes in this one, and like, oh my god, it's just amazing. And like basically we see her become like realize that, hey, maybe she can be a little bit selfish, and like kind of realize that, and it's like really great. And like this one is like probably I'd probably say my third favorite, because the next one coming up is like my second favorite because it's like really good. And like but still this one is just fantastic. It has this in it, so you know it's good. And the last story is one that involves young Stan and young Ford, called the Pines Boys in The Jersey Devils in the Details. And this one we get to see a little bit more of their past, like one of their past adventures. And this one is like really good. It's like my second favorite one because like I love like seeing more of like Stan and Ford's past, and like this one has like some of the funniest parts in it, because like there are some parts that you could definitely tell that they took advantage of the fact that this kind of story could not be told like on an average episode of Gravity Falls, because like, you know, I guess it was like censors or like, you know, Disney and everything. But because this is a book, it's like, I don't know, they took advantage of it, and there are some lines of dialogue here that make me go like, oh, whoa, they did not make that kind of joke or say that kind of thing like on Disney Channel or Disney XD. But like, it's honestly fantastic. And again, I think like the stuff with like Ford and Stan is really good. Their interactions are great, and we get to see like, you know, their past with each other, seeing like you know, right, like, you know, how they didn't have like, you know, right, like the best past all together, and like, you know, they're kind of seen as outcasts and all, but like, you know, right, we still see them like, you know, bond, and that's really nice. And you know, right, it's just really great, honestly. It's like on the heart in this one is just really good in my opinion, which is what makes it my second favorite one. And of course the art is just amazing, you know, right, like it usually is. And yeah, it's just really good. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Gravity Falls, Lost Legends, the graphic novel. It's just really good. If you love Gravity Falls, I highly recommend this. It's just like really fun to read. It will make you laugh, and there's like some really good stories in here. And like here's how I'd rank them. I'd say number 1 would be Comics Up. Number 2 would be The Jersey Devils in the Details, and number 3 would be Don't Dimension It, and number 4 would be Face It. They're all really good, and I had a ton of fun reading this. And now let's move on to the big one. All right, This is Gravity Falls Journal 3. Like, if I had to recommend one piece of merch to a Gravity Falls fan who's all like, oh, I don't think I'm gonna get, like, any merch for it, then this is, like, I go, like, okay, fine, I understand, but, like, if you have to get one, though, I highly recommend this, because this is amazing. They truly brought the journal from the show to life with this, and it is so good, and, like, I wanted to read the whole thing from beginning to end, but unfortunately some live stuff came up and like I wasn't able to do that, but I was able to like read like this amount and then like skim through pages here and there, just reading all this like cool stuff. Like again, like the amount of detail that went into this is just amazing, and there's so many great like references to the show, and then some things that make that aren't brought up in the show that make me go like, oh my god, like, oh, this is so incredible, like, oh, they didn't have to do this, because like this page never shows up in the show or anything like that. Oh, we don't see some of this, like, I mean, like, you know, like, I mean, some of this like you are seeing, we do see in the show, but you get what I mean. Like there are some pages here and there that make you go, oh hey, we don't see this, and be like, they didn't have to add it, but they did, and it's like, oh my god, it's so good, and it makes me appreciate like the people working on this show, like because they worked on this, like, you know, Alex Hirsch and his team probably had to work so hard to like do all this stuff, and it is just so amazing. Like the amount of detail in this book is just incredible, and it's just amazing. It's like one of the best books I own, and I own To Kill a Mockingbird, so you know, right, that book is like garbage compared to this. I'm joking, of course, sort of, half. I'm not really. The point is, I like this a lot, and it is like really, really good, and I just love flipping through it, and hopefully one day I can read the whole thing from beginning to end, but for now, it's like, it looks really good on a shelf, and I love it. I don't actually own a bookshelf. It looks like I've officially talked about everything Gravity Falls related that I could get my hands on, you know, right? So I guess that would be a good time to end the video and officially say, hey, I'm done talking about Gravity. Top 10 episodes of Gravity Falls, baby! Number 10, we got Summerween, which is like just a really great episode for season 1. It's just like a ton of fun. There's some great laughs in there, and it works as a really great Halloween episode for a show that like makes sense for it to have a Halloween episode, but then you wonder like, hey, it takes place during the summer. How did they have a Halloween episode? Well, they say the town of Gravity Falls just loves Halloween so much that they celebrate in the summer, and it's honestly just such a like kind of a funny excuse to have a Halloween episode for this show, but it works honestly, and I love it, man. It's like so great. Like there's some really good character stuff between Dipper and Mabel, about Mabel fearing about like them like you know, growing up and not being able to do the same kid stuff that they like, and I think that stuff is really good. We get some like, again, like I said, really funny moments, and like the villain of this episode, the Summerween trickster, his design is just great, and then the reveal of what he is. Like if you were someone who trick-or-treated as a kid, you will understand like how great this villain is for a Halloween episode. But yeah, it's just great. It's like yeah, it's like just a really good spooky season episode for a show that doesn't take place during spooky season, yet it still works. Number 9, I already talked about this, so I'm not gonna go too in depth with it, but I'm just gonna say this episode is just really great. It's from season 2. It's a Zeus episode where we get to see his past, and like, you know, right, like see like how his father wasn't the best, and we see like why he's so loyal to like the Pines family. It's like the heart in that episode is just so good, and we get to see like the past of Gravity Falls, like during the, I think, 90s or early 2000s, so that's great to see. And then we get to see more of the future where Time Baby rules over everything, and it's like the crazy stuff they come up with. That is great. And yeah, Blendon Blandon, voiced by Justin Roiland, fantastic. Overall, just a very great time travel episode with a ton of heart. Number 8, Dipper and Mabel versus the future. Again, I also went pretty in depth with it before, so I'm not going to go too far into this again. I'll just say that, hey, it's a really good calm before the storm type of episode where we get to see some like drama build up between Dipper and Mabel, and then we see like Ford and Dipper go on like an adventure to discover like alien stuff, which is, I think it's like really cool. I don't know if I ever really explained that before, but like we get to see that like Gravity Falls has like apparently the valley of Gravity Falls was formed by a UFO, and that's like so cool. Like such a great reveal that like aliens exist in the world of Gravity Falls, but we don't actually see them, which I kind of like, honestly, because it adds like this mystery value to like a show that already has a ton of mysteries, but it makes it so cool because you never see aliens in this show, so it kind of makes you wonder, what do aliens in Gravity Falls look like that, the point where like, you know, again, it adds like this super mysterious super mysterious like aspect to a show that like is already pretty mysterious, and that's just so cool. But yeah, like the drama between Dipper and Mabel is really good, and like, you know, it feels like a very cool adventure before, you know, the big finale, which is just great. So yeah, solid episode. Number 7, Gideon Rises. I already went a bit into detail before, and which is like something I'm gonna say for a couple of these other episodes as well, so I don't have to go on too much longer. But basically, again, Gideon Rises is just such a great season finale. It ups the emotional stakes of the show. It makes like Gideon, like who it can be really funny, make him actually kind of feel threatening, will also be pretty funny. And again, like, you know, the emotional stuff is like really good. And then at the end, of course, that cliffhanger that leaves us going like, oh my god, what does that mean? And then makes you excited for season 2. It's just great season 1 finale. Number 6, Northwest Mansion Mystery. I talked about it a bit before, but I'm gonna go over it again. Basically, a really great episode that adds like depth and nuance to Pacifica's character, which is like a character you weren't expecting to get that, but it's like really cool. We get to see like how, you know, she doesn't have like the best like parents, and we see her kind of like become like you know, grow a little bit as a person. It's just like really great, and like I love that. And like this episode is probably one of the darkest like Gravity Falls has to offer, and it's like it's so good. Like some of the creepy imagery with like the ghost haunting the mansion is just incredible and like super like messed up. And also like even the way that he dies, like when we see like how he died, it's like it's legit like, you know, pretty messed up as well. Again, it's like it's really dark, and I absolutely love it. And yeah, so there's also some really funny jokes in here. And again with Pacifica, it's just like, you know, I really like what they do with their character in this, and it's just fantastic. And yeah, just really great episode. Number 5, Society of the Blind Eye. Again, I talked about it before, but I'm gonna go over it again. We get to see like again more like character like depth and nuance to Old Man McGucket, another character you wouldn't expect to get that, but it's like so great. And then we learn about like this like secret society in Gravity Falls that is like made up of like other Gravity Falls like reoccurring characters, and they like erase people's minds, and it just adds like this like new thing, like this big reveal to like to the show that is just like so crazy and bonkers and works so well, and I absolutely love it. And like the reveal of like why Old Man McGucket is the way he is like legit really sad, but then you feel like happy for him when you realize, oh dang, he can like make himself better, and like he sees it as a good thing, like, you know, now he can like get his life back together. It's just really fantastic. And then at the end you do kind of see him get his life back together, and it's just like it's just amazing. It's just, yeah, great episode. Number 4, Zeus and the Real Girl. Again, talked about it before, I'm gonna do it again. It's basically the FNAF and Doki Doki Literature Club episode. I should say that I know that this episode was put into development before those things, so, you know, right, by the time it came out, they didn't expect like FNAF to even be a thing and be as popular, and it came out before Doki Doki Literature Club, but still, I wanted to make that joke. But like, yeah, this episode is really great. Another really good Zeus episode where we get to see like explore his love life, and then like I really like, I honestly, it's just really great. It has some really great laughs in it. I love the Pixar of Giffany. Giffany's a really great villain for this episode, where we see her like just be like you know, right, like again this like crazy video game girlfriend that is obsessed with Zeus, and like it's just really great, and it's just a ton of fun. My favorite video game related episode of the show, and it's just really good. Number 3, Tale of Two Stands. I already went pretty in depth with it. Probably not like well. I probably didn't do it well, but I did go in depth with it before, so I won't go too much into this. But like I say, it's a really great like explanation episode about like the past of like Stan and Ford, the author of the journals, and it reveals so much great interesting stuff about their past. And it's just like the comedy is really good, the drama is really good, and it's just amazing. And it leaves you excited to see where it will continue, where the show will continue from that. And it's just, yeah, very good. Number 2, Weird Mageddon Trilogy. Yes, all 3 or 4 parts. And like I originally I was gonna have like each of the parts be their own episode, and then they all ended up on the list, and I didn't want like 30 or 40% of the list to just be comprised of Weird Mageddon. So I'm combining them all together because, yeah, it's such a great finale, one of the best finales to a show I have ever seen, and it is just incredible. Like the crazy action stuff is there, like all the super bizarreness you would expect from Gravity Falls is there, but up to a bigger scale. The character stuff is great, and like the emotional stuff is great. It's just a great finale. And like like I said, I already went super in depth with it, as you saw, so I'm not gonna go do that again, because like, I mean, I could if I wanted to, but unfortunately I can't, because I really should finish this video. But like, yes, it's just a very amazing finale, and weirdly enough, not even the best that Gravity Falls has to offer. The best that Gravity Falls has to offer is my number 1 choice for best episode of the entire show, Not What He Seems. I already went super in detail with this episode before, so I'm not going to do it again, because like I said, I really do got to finish this, and honestly, I am tired as hell, guys. But the point is, I'm just going to quickly sum it all up again. This is one of the best episodes of television I have ever seen. Everything from the drama, the character stuff, the animation, even the comedy is still there. And it's just like, it's fun, and it's also super dramatic. And it is so, it feels like an intense roller coaster of an episode, even after like knowing where the show goes after everything, even knowing that eventually knowing that Grunkle Stan is not like a bad person, and like knowing like where like what the big reveal of the episode is, rewatching it, I still felt that you know, that again, that intense rush of emotions that it first gave me when I, you know, when I first watched that episode. And that is just incredible. And I really don't know how else to say it, especially since, like, you know, I already went super in detail with it, but like, it's just you know, right, Gravity Falls this is their best episode. Not What He Seems has got to be one of the best episodes of television that I've ever seen. I've officially done it. I've talked about everything Gravity Falls related that I can. I went over my favorite episodes of the show of all time, and it's just, yeah, I'm officially done. And man, oh man, even after all this time, even after spending like what, over an hour talking about Gravity Falls, like, how long is this video? Is it all? It might be like almost as long, or maybe even longer than my best of 2021 video. I don't know yet. I gotta, hopefully I'll know by then. But like, man, it's been so wild. I did not expect to go on this long, but at the same time, it's like, it makes sense, because like, what else? This show deserves like that amount of time, maybe even more, because it is so good. And even after like what, over an hour and like 30 minutes of, or however long this is, I still don't feel like I've done this show justice. It is just that good, and I still feel like I missed some stuff out, and it's just, but at the same time, I'm happy with what I've said. This is like one of my favorite shows of all time, and not just animated shows, just one of my favorite shows in general. It was like one of the first kids cartoons that I saw that made me realize, oh dang, I feel like kids cartoons don't just have to be like silly comedies. They can be so much more. They can have like this really great character and story stuff. And obviously, I know Gravity Falls isn't the first kids cartoon to have those elements, but it was the first one to me, at least the first one that had those elements that really like had me engaged. And it's just like, it's just so good. And because of that, it made me like find like this like appreciation for not just kids animation, but also just animation in general. Yeah, Gravity Falls helped me appreciate animation a lot, and it's just that I just love it for that. And yeah, Gravity Falls, like I said, is one of the best shows I've ever seen. And if I could think of the two most influential like kids cartoons of the 2010s, it has got to be Adventure Time and Gravity Falls, because you could definitely see the style of both those shows continue on in like, you know, the style of like modern day cartoons, especially when it comes to Gravity Falls. That also could be because a lot of the great animated projects in recent times have or are being developed or created by people who worked on Gravity Falls. All these amazing animated projects that you see up here now have been developed or created or directed by someone who worked on Gravity Falls, and it just shows just how amazing this team is. I'm so happy that I got to talk about Gravity Falls, because it's like one of my favorite shows of all time. It's easily, definitely one of my favorite animated shows of all time. Easily top 3. It might even be my favorite Disney cartoon of all time, if I'm being honest. It is just that good. It just holds a really special place in my heart. It means the world to me, and it's like, and when I think about the shows that inspire me, like the shows that like inspire like the kinds of work that I want to do in life, Gravity Falls is one of them. Like, I have my own dreams of making like my own shows and movies, and whenever I think about, oh hey, what am I inspired by, Gravity Falls is one of those inspirations. And it's just, I'm just so happy I got to talk about it to celebrate its like 10-year anniversary. I still can't believe it's been 10 years, but yeah, it's just happy 10 years, Gravity Falls, happy birthday. And and thank you, Alex Hirsch, and like everyone else who worked on Gravity Falls, for making this great work of art, and I will always appreciate it. Thank you.